As Keanu Reeves continues to distance himself from Hollywood's flashy demands, one must wonder, is his departure from mainstream cinema simply a matter of creative independence, or a deliberate step toward leaving behind an industry that fails to appreciate true artistry? Could the friction between Reeves and Hollywood ultimately be the final straw, signaling a significant shift in how he defines his legacy? Let's see how Hollywood kicked Keanu Reeves out of Hollywood for good. Keanu's minor roles. Even though Keanu had minor roles in television and movies during the 80s, he did not gain mainstream popularity until 1989, when he starred in the movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure as Ted Theodore Logan, a boy next door who speaks stupidities and always looks happy. The film was somewhat funny and became a favorite among students at school, and Keanu Reeves' name was finally well known. However, it was not only in comedy that he was a good actor. In 1991, Reeves moved to a different genre and acted in Point Break, an action movie in which he played an FBI agent alongside Patrick Swayze as the character Johnny Utah. It was evident that he was capable of performing action movies, just as he was good in doing comedies, which opened him to even more prominent roles. Thus, in 1999, the world received Keanu Reeves as an actor with The Matrix. This work, created with the help of such an outstanding actor who played the role of Neo, a hacker turned savior of humanity, became one of the best works in science fiction. The film's special effects, along with the softness of Reeves' character, contributed to its becoming a big hit it introduced. Through slow-motion fight scenes and some highly complex and mind-bending philosophies, Reeves' performance as Neo became the stuff of legend. Finally, people didn't stop discussing the film, and Keanu Reeves became the type of the new generation of space and action cinema. Many actors gain success, but only a few can hear the audience's heart, like Keanu Reeves. What is so impressive is that despite all these achievements, Keanu stayed simple, friendly, and polite. His antics of being kind to everyone are legendary. He would voluntarily give his subway seat to a stranger or give a huge chunk of his paycheck to a charity. People are willingly fans of Keanu not only because of his performance but also because of his person. Guys and ladies, he is friendly, gentle, and expected even though he is one of the Hollywood escorts. This is why he has been given the fame of being one of the most likable stars in show business. Of course, the success story that defines Keanu is his way to stardom and his ability to act, not to mention that he is a heartfelt man. Starting from the superficial character of Ted to the extraordinary character of Neo, has proved that out of the ordinary, he is incredible, and that part of Hollywood is incomplete without him. This is what fans love about Hemsworth: refusal to play by the rules. Another critical characteristic of the star's activities is that Reeves does not fit most common Hollywood requirements. While other stars are chasing more paid characters or becoming affiliated with some studio executive, Keanu only cares about his principles. This is the same person who has refused to produce movies no matter the potential of the projects to be successful, preferring not to work on them or for them. These cases show that Reeves has often decided to star in several lesser independent movies or step out from acting altogether, a thing which would be pretty unusual in a business where actors are expected to milk their popularity as soon as possible. This Supposition independent attitude has helped him stand out from the rest of his competitors, making him unique and accurate in the eyes of his fans. Still, on the other side, it has not been well received in Hollywood. Another fascinating moment that can be discussed concerning Reeves' avoidance of a stereotype was when he refused to film another picture, Speed 2, Cruise Control. Given the phenomenon that Speed film managed to achieve in its 1994 release, fans and critics believed Keanu would reprise his role for the second part. But still, he turned down the sweet request, as he was not interested in the plot of the film and its development. Many in Hollywood were astounded by this decision, since sequels are usually surefire hits at the box office, besides a higher paycheck. Reeves, however, was more career-minded and tried to get roles that he wanted to do, rather than the ones that would make him financially solvent. But this decision had its repercussions. For some time, Keanu was blocked. Some studio executives thought that he was ungrateful or just plain stupid to reject such a fine lot of scripts, turning down guaranteed box office hits like Speed 2. Cruise Control was considered folly, and this dented Keanu's reputation in Hollywood for a while. But what could be expected of Reeves? He was not going to take things easy and predictable. He later stated that the decision to decline to make Speed 2 was wise for him as an actor in terms of his career and artistry. Those decisions to primarily focus on projects that offer self-managed artistic visions rather than blockbuster contracts have caused conflicts in the background with producers. Contrary to many other actors, Reeves has never committed to multiple films at once or accepted particular roles as soon in exchange for studio support. Often, this has been reported to have angered studio executives due to his unpredictable nature or what they refer to as his selfish attitude while working on projects. They want stars who will generate this money regularly, which is why, at times, Keanu's attitude has clashed. Another example of such conflict was at the time when Reeves decided to distance himself from shooting movies at the height of his career. After The Matrix, he could have easily given us more big movies, one after the other, in the same manner. Thus, having made the difficult choice, Keanu decided to step off and turn to different acting, such as theater acting and singing. This bewildered many in the industry as they were ready to exploit his newfound fame and fortune. For Reeves, however, the game and the revenues were not the rationale. This individual had to go on feeling motivated at the job selections. He preferred to keep his personal life separate from his work life, even if it meant being less business-minded and missing great opportunities. That poor interaction with studios also affected Ono's monetary affairs, as well as personal interaction. One can read dozens of stories of Keanu Reeves, who did not mind accepting less money for his acting job in a film because the remaining budget would be spent on other aspects of the shooting, such as effects or mott actors. For instance, while shooting The Devil's Advocate and The Replacements, he agreed to take a lower fee to employ a better cast like Al Pacino and Gene Hackman. Though his fellow actors and the crew loved this generosity, it could not make some heads of studios comfortable as it negated revenue-making. Thus, Keanu Reeves has worked by his own rules. Although it may have had its downsides and difficulties due to his defiance of Hollywood regulars, it made him kind of a maverick in an industry funded by dollars. Some of the choices he has as turned down have sometimes worked against him and put him in contrast with the studio moguls, but in my view, they have helped him remain the great expert he is. It can be said that for Keanu, it has not been the dream of gaining fame or wealth that propelled him into making a specific choice, but rather to make choices that were consistent with being himself. But in an industry where it is sometimes difficult to find a natural person, that is where he shines. Warner Brothers fallout. It is essential to identify one of the most apparent conflict periods of Keanu Reeves' cooperation with movie studios, namely Warner Brothers, which produces The Matrix 3. The first Matrix movie, released in 1999, also became a cult and made Reeves an international movie star. But the sequels, Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions, came with off-camera problems. There was gossip about an artistic conflict of interest between Reeves and Warner Brothers concerning the sequels. The Wachowskis, the directors of the trilogy, had a different concept of the film's narrative and effects for visual perception, which at times seemed too exotic to the studio's managers and sellers. Reeves on his own, who had a good working relationship with the Wachowskis, was in between. He stood by them even when it produced conflict with the Warner Brothers executives who focused on the commercial aspect instead of innovative narrative. Though the sequels grossed more money, they failed to reach the same level of enchantment felt while watching Toy Story, and the receptions were mixed. This added to the conflict between Reeves and Warner Brothers, as the latter had significantly invested in the movie, hoping to repeat the same success. Even though there were no reported cases of spats in the media regarding the rumored fallout between the two, It was evident that the actor's decision to take the filmmaker's side, wildly when they were clashing with studio demands, had been the cause of the breakdown in this friendship. However, Reeves's company image as someone who cared more about art than business grew even more prominent. During his acting career, Keanu Reeves has opted for unique roles and selected films that might not be typical for the movie industry's leading man. When Reeves entered Hollywood with Matrix fame, he could have stuck to the mold of the usual blockbuster action heroes, but he chose to make decisions that were quite different from the regular Hollywood norms. The decision that can be considered one of the most defining ones was a performance in 2014 as a character of John Wick. John Wick was initially mistaken for yet another action movie, but it became relatively fresh thanks to Reeves's portrayal of a retired killer searching for revenge. It was a movie with great action and a solid emotional background, which was entirely unexpected for an action movie star at that age. Reeves' passion for performing most of the stunts himself was becoming a movie legend. It also became a sort of rebirth for the actor, or at least the beginning of it, that of John Wick. This emerged as a cult success, which in the following years was transformed into a series of sequels that reaffirmed his status as a legend in action films. This role is a pivotal point in his career, and it symbolizes the fact that Reeves was not afraid to take chances, and that this was not the same actor who delivered some of the previous successful movies. Apart from action films, Reeves has always been involved in smaller indie films, allowing him to venture into other categories of movies and different roles. Such work includes A Scanner Darkly, 2006, and The Neon Demon, 2016, signifying the director's willingness to work in experimental and avant-garde cinema categories. Like not many blockbuster movies, these projects gave him credit for his versatility and risk-taking ability. This was proved when Reeves wasn't hesitant to venture beyond the conventional, especially when he left Hollywood. Industry pushback. The specific independent course of action and Keanu Reeves' unwillingness to adapt to conventional Hollywood star molds have not always won him much of the insider's appreciation. While some of his audiences appreciate his honesty, some studio heads and others inside Hollywood have seen his actions with annoyance. Devising on big projects like not signing in Speed 2 Cruise Control was a way of telling Hollywood that Reeves had principles and would not just jump on the bandwagon for the sake of making money. While he was highly sought after on and off the screen, he was not popular among the studio bosses since his decisions were irregular and could not guarantee high sales. Therefore, his desire for independence and choosing to do what liberated his creativity, rather than staying in the studio and waiting for good opportunities, made Reeves sometimes be on the opposite side of the leading Hollywood. Some of the issues highlighted were Reeves going against his superiors to take charge of the conception of the movies. His decision to accept lower remunerations for some movies like The Devil's Advocate and The Replacements to have other A-list actors like Al Pacino and Gene Hackman was an uncharacteristic action that wasn't very popular with the bosses of the movie production companies. Though it brought him some kind of respect from other actors, this act only showed that he was unwilling to play Hollywood's money game. Nevertheless, these issues have not negatively impacted Reeves' character, as he remains a humble man down to the roots who appreciates creativity. They might have tried to put the brakes on him at some point in his career, but just as well, it has contributed to him creating that niche in Hollywood, which he has both revered and left unboxing. His actions have become somewhat peculiar at times, but they allowed him to be free that few Hollywood actors can ever be. This is how Keanu Reeves shifted concentration on the small-scale independent film projects that interested him as his Hollywood career advanced, ignoring the large-scale Hollywood projects offered to him. This change was perhaps most noticeable after the success of the Matrix trilogy. Not wanting to go after even more significant breaks, Reeves shifted focus towards projects he would find inspiring and stimulating. Among these business ventures was his investment in Arch Motorcycle Company, which he started in 2011. Motorcycle riding has always been Reeves's passion, and he founded the company to enjoy his love while buying and designing new models that are different from the existing ones. Arch Motorcycle Co. is into manufacturing and marketing performance motorcycles, and Keanu has been very much involved in designing these performance bikes. This company manifests his love for artistry and his desire to take on projects that would have meaning to him rather than taking on more public relations jobs for more popularity and wealth. Further, Arch, besides the God Apartment, Keanu has been involved in some low-profile or more close, actual, indulgent films. From the action-adventure movie of 2013, 47 Ronin, to the surreal drama of 2016, The Neon Demon, Reeves has tried to select the roles that allow him to implement various aspects of motion picture production. He is open to portraying complicated or exposing roles, which makes him one of the actors who are not very much concerned with the box office prospects of projects. Staying true to himself. Reeves' talent for remaining genuine in his acting career may seem like his greatest strength, as he never had to pander to appeal to Hollywood standards. Despite what many other actors would probably succumb to the demands of the industry, whether it be choosing projects for the sake of money or the limelight, Keanu has always stood steadfast to his principles throughout his Hollywood experience. However, this hypocrisy must have helped him acquire legions of followers. People like Keanu, both as an actor performing in the movies and as a decent, polite, and authentic person. From stories of him giving his seat on the subway to others, or making charity donations worth millions of shillings that hardly get to the media, Keanu's actions depict a man with humility rather than arrogance of the celebrity status. Especially in an industry where facade is given much importance more than content, it has made Keanu not fit in that framework. But it has also offended some actors in the industry due to his freedom in managing duties assigned to him. Some of the decisions that Keanu has made include rejecting significant roles and leaving big-budget films to do smaller films that are more intimate, which are not so bright in terms of business in Hollywood. Although this may have restrained some of the chances, it has granted him the capacity to form a career that he will be glad of, which is not based on corruption of standards, but on pure integrity. This is well illustrated by Keanu Reeves, who has proved that life beyond acting can be equally as fulfilling or even more fulfilling than life in Hollywood. However, his motivation towards self-owned businesses, his hobbies, startups such as his motor company, and his contributions towards charity have made him unique among celebrity business icons. Beyond an actor, Keanu is a man who decided to go against the flow in the acting profession, which usually requires one to be otherwise. His sense of humor and ability to give to his fans while maintaining his independence make him a permanent feature in fans' hearts. When John Wick first made it to the screens, no one thought it would be a blockbuster. The movie, written and directed by Chad Stahelski and David Leitz, was about a former hitman who wants to take vengeance on those who killed his dog. Although the story idea touched many people, the movie wasn't considered a surefire blockbuster, and Reeves didn't star in major films for several years. Lots of people in Hollywood felt that his finest action years were over. It can only be said that Keanu Reeves depicted John Wick as one of those inflexible avengers and compassionate, profoundly grieving guys who brought something innovative to the action genre. John Wick became an unexpected hit and was produced for over $86 million worldwide, with the invested amount lying within the range of $20, $30 million. What made John Wick especially remarkable was that it wasn't just a one-off success they could build their franchise around, though some fans only. Within the blink of an eye, it morphed into a full-on franchise, where each subsequent edition was a little more successful than the last and received better critical acclaim. Fan support. One of the most essential aspects in the success of the film John Wick was the inflow of fans dismayed for Keanu Reeves. In the years that Reeves spent in Hollywood, he had a fan base chiefly because of his down-to-earth personality. In his roles in the movies and behind the scenes, he was the most humble, gentle, and very approachable man that people loved, even if his films were not doing as well as they used to. Audiences embraced the John Wick character and the actor who portrayed him. Thus, people could transform the movie into a phenomenon. Social networks were instrumental in reviving Keanu Reeves' stardom, with the images and videos on social media dedicated to the film and the actor himself. John Wick was released at the right time as people started paying interest to result-oriented action films with practical stunts rather than those the overdosed special effects. John Wick's movies perfectly combined action and emotions. People loved the films and the worlds they created. Once again, Keanu could not remain unaffected by the praises and was appreciated even more for his efforts in the training sessions he took for the action scenes. The best additions to the fans were videos of Reeves practicing his stunts and having heavy gunfire training sessions. This relationship made John Wick more than just another action series. Reeves heeded the fans' calls. Hollywood's reluctant acceptance. Nevertheless, Hollywood's first warm response to Keanu's return wasn't all that warm, even though John Wick was a hit. It is also not a secret that Reeves' non-Hollywood conformism, coupled with his independence, rendered him unpopular with some people in the industry over the years. However, the movie John Wick became popular, and with its sequels ruling the big screen, Hollywood had no option other than to notice his rise to stardom. The subsequent John Wick sequels, John Wick Chapter 2, released in 2017, and John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, released in 2019, earned more than the first movie, and again helped to establish Reeves as the leading action star. The franchise started receiving massive success, touching hundreds of millions of dollars in gross across the globe. Keanu had demonstrated that his offbeat path in his career, particularly in action Hollywood, was viable, and studios could not ignore it anymore. No, John Wick did not only resurrect Reeves' career, but it also reinvented it. Nonetheless, Hollywood remained aware that Reeves' triumph was a reality, and for the movie studios, tensions with the cowboy were never grave enough to overshadow this simple fact. The truth, however, is that Reeves' victory was not a flash-in-the-pan affair, but a return to the heights of pro wrestling brought about by sheer ability and an unwavering fan base. Thus, it can be stated that Keanu Reeves and John Wick are not going anywhere anytime soon, and even Hollywood can't ignore it. Recent developments. Among the most recent examples, Keanu Reeves and Hollywood controversy can be described as his actions not acting in mass films, which are reboots or sequels in which he is not interested or does not like the concept of the directors. For example, even though John Wick made Reeves a successful actor again, he has rejected many grossing big offers and sequels, which are considered to be the next logical step for him. Also, there have been concerns about his authority struggle regarding his work on some of the projects. This character trait was especially evident in Reeves, who did not relinquish his strong vision, whether or not it lies with the studios and producers. For instance, he was creative, choosing films such as Replicas, 2018, where creative differences characterized the filming process and more significant problems in balancing what the director wanted and what the studio required. Furthermore, the decision to reduce the scope of his activities to independent, highly budgeted projects rather than big-budget epic films has also deepened the rift between Reeves and the mainstream Hollywood players. This sometimes causes him conflict with studios that prefer to present movies that will surely capture the market rather than distinctive art. What some people believe was the intentional trend of distancing himself from the traditional Hollywood system, he chose to work only on personal and passion projects, instead of getting commercial big-budget projects. There are rumors that Keanu Reeves may have planned to go into semi-retirement in Hollywood. As he keeps on engaging in ventures that give him art direction and personal fulfillment, there are indications that he may be planning a long-term departure from the glamour of the studios and large-format filmmaking. Interviews and his public appearances in the last couple of months point toward a diminishing regard for the traditional movie industry standards. It can be noted that Blumhouse's John Wick series is Chuck-Shin's priority, given that he remains heavily involved in its creative process, along with his affiliation with independent movies and his own business such as Arch Motorcycle. This reveals that he leans towards preserving creative decision-making power, rather than taking part in manufacturing mass-production movies. Further, Reeves counts more philanthropic and personal activities. One may speak about the changes in the priorities. He is more concerned with advocating for issues he deems necessary, enjoying his other hobbies, and pursuing other endeavors, rather than seeking the next blockbuster Hollywood movie. This is a shift from the commercial career focus to personal identity, meaning that he may be ready to leave the mainstream industry if it does not suit his values. The ongoing conflict and the recent events in Keanu Reeves' career suggest the likelihood that he has now gone off the mainstream Hollywood pattern. His dedication to pursue creative freedom and to work on projects and industries he cares about rather than shoot massive productions may imply that Hollywood might not be the main target in the further years of his career. Whether this is the last time that Reeves will sever ties with the film industry or not, only time can tell. However, the general direction that Reeves has taken shows the clear idea that the actor prefers to chart his course in the entire Hollywood industry rather than follow the conventional trail. If you enjoyed this exploration of Keanu Reeves and his evolving relationship with Hollywood, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates and in-depth stories. Your support helps us bring you more great content.